particular case, if democracy is at risk, then you are the best candidate to beat Donald Trump?
Because I've beaten it before, and I've gotten more done than any president has.
Have you spoken to members of Congress?
No, but you've been wrong about everything so far. You were wrong about 2020. You were wrong about 2022. We were going to get wiped out. Remember the red wave? You were wrong about 2023. And you said all the tough races, we won them all but two. So, look, we'll see.
So that was President Biden laying down some truth on a reporter. They have been wrong about everything, and they've especially been wrong about this big red wave that they keep warning about. They keep telling us it's coming, and it keeps failing to show up. And I got to thinking about why. Why has this not happened? Because I used to argue that it was just a pendulum swinging, and we would have one side take power for a while till the country got tired of it. It would swing back the other way. But Donald Trump threw a complete wrench into that pendulum. And I think it caused people to step back and realize how things truly are. So why isn't the red wave showing up? Why doesn't it happen? Well, I believe the main reason why it doesn't happen is because there's no diversity in MAGA at all. And they're not bringing anyone new into the fold. They're just doubling down on their cruelty. They're doubling down on their mean-spirited behavior and their same old tired rhetoric they've been using ever since Trump came down the escalator. But they're not doing anything to appeal to independents and moderates. They're not doing anything to appeal to people to say, hey, you should come into this movement because, you know, we've got the better ideas. They just continue to double down on their cruelty, which is their number one policy these days, and they think that's going to be enough to get them over the finish line. But there's no diversity amongst them. There's no individual thoughts. They all have a one-track mind, and they're all not allowed to have diversity. Think about it. They're not allowed to speak out against Donald Trump. If they speak out against Trump, they get called a rhino, a Republican in name only. Now, I want you to really stop and think about this. There's been a whole lot of talk since the debate. There's been a whole lot of chaos on the left, with people on the left disagreeing as to whether or not Joe Biden should stay in the race. I've saw people that I have a whole lot of respect for disagree with me and think that Biden should just drop out immediately. But I have never called them a Democrat in name only. I've never called them a progressive in name only. I've never called them a Judas Iscariot. I've never used the words and the rhetoric that MAGA uses, because on our side of the aisle, there is diversity. On our side of the aisle, there is individual thoughts, and I welcome that. I welcome individual thoughts, and I welcome people having a difference of opinion. I want to hear another angle of thought. I want you to make me think. I don't want you to tell me to just pledge my undying loyalty to the leader. That's not what I want. I want to be on a side with a group of people who says, hey, maybe we should think about it this way. Doesn't mean I'm always going to agree with them. I may strongly disagree with them. I may get in the weeds and really argue hard with them. But I'm never going to sit there and call them a traitor. I'm never going to sit there and act like that their loyalty should be strictly to Joe Biden, because I don't think that it should be. You know, the one thing about the left is, if I had any criticism at all for it, is that we expect there to be a perfect candidate. So many on the left expects there to be this perfect candidate who's going to agree with you on every single thing. And if they don't agree with you on every single thing, then they're ready to just throw them under the bus. Well, I'm staying home. I'm voting third party. To hell with this. It's hard to get people on our side to all get behind one person, because we do have individual thoughts. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's a strength and a weakness. It's a strength that we're diverse. It's a strength that we, you know, all have our own individual way of thinking about things. It can also be a curse when it comes election time. So what I would say to those people and the people that I've disagreed with on the left is, right now more than ever is the time to stay focused. Right now more than ever is to understand the threat that Donald Trump poses to MAGA, and not just Trump, but not just Trump, but MAGA themselves and the next conservative president that takes power. That Supreme Court decision should have sealed everyone's vote right there. When they made that decision, that should have been the one that sealed your vote. If nothing else had at that point, if you were still undecided, if you were still on the fence, if you were still thinking you might go third party, that should have been the one to seal the deal for you right there. But that type of diversity, we've not saw any of that coming from the right. Had Donald Trump had a bad debate, they would have just sat and shouted that the game was rigged and CNN was unfair to him and mean to him. We didn't do that. That's them. That's what they do. And there's no diversity to that. They want a world where everybody looks the same, has the same color skin, speaks the same accent, follows the same leader, buys into the same type of rhetoric, and repeats the same type of talking points. And I don't want any part of that. And I think at the end of the day, that's why the big red wave that they keep saying is coming has never showed up, because they're not bringing new people into the fold, and they're not growing that movement at all. I think if they win again, it's going to be because people on the left stayed home It's because people on the left got too chaotic and went third party or went another way. I don't think they can win on their own. I really don't think MAGA can win on their own. I think the only way they win is if the left just stays home and drops the ball. And I think it's been that way for a long time, because going back to before MAGA came into the picture, there was no diversity in the Republican Party then, really, and there was no new ideas, at least. There might have been a little bit more diversity, but there was definitely no new ideas being shown. No one was saying, hey, here's another way of doing things. And Donald Trump came along, and he capitalized on this underbelly of this growing conspiracy theorists, and he threw gas on that flame and just ran with it. And now, folks, it's gotten so out of hand that I don't know if we'll ever be able to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But I don't want to live in a world where everyone looks like me. I don't want to believe in a world where everyone thinks like me. I don't want to live in a world where everyone believes exactly like me. That's not an America that I want to live in, and that's not what this country was ever supposed to be about. I want a country where everyone, regardless of the color of your skin, where you came from, your sexual orientation, how you identify as a person, I don't want any of those things to come in the way of someone living their life. I want everyone to be able to live their life and have life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's what I want. I want everyone to be able to do it alongside each other and understand that just because someone's over here living their good life does not mean they're trying to force it upon me. The town I live in, the part of the world I live in, is blood red. I've joked and said that I am in the buckle of the Bible Belt. I mean, that's where I'm sitting, folks. There's no way that I could ever be in an echo chamber, because I'm always hearing other people's points of view. I see it every street I drive down, every back road I travel. I see the other point of view. I go to a flea market, there's booths set up with the other point of view. I can't escape it. And people in my part of the world will sit back and say that, they're the rebels, they're the outlaws, they're the ones that's being persecuted. And I'm like, you guys, man, like, you believe like everybody else in your hometown. Where I live, I know the people who are progressive and liberal and on the left side of the aisle on a first-name basis, because there's so few of us. We know each other, and we found each other because there's so few of us. And yet on that side of the aisle, they act as though they're the ones, they're coming after us and our way of life. No one's coming after your way of life. I hear so many people stand up and give these speeches about how this ain't the country I used to live in. This ain't the country. No, it's not. It's not the country you used to live in. It's not the country you grew up in the 50s. Sorry, pal, it's not. Those days are long gone and over with, and we don't ever want to see them again. The days when black people didn't have the rights to vote, the days when women didn't have the right to vote, the days when gay people and trans people had to stay in the closet and stay quiet, those are days that we don't ever want to see again. We want to see everybody out there living their good life, and that's what America is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about us all living and working together alongside of each other. And we may have our differences. We may have our different lifestyles. We may have our difference of opinion. But that's what democracy truly is that we can all live in peace and harmony alongside each other. We're all Americans at the end of the day, folks. All of us are, including MAGA. They're just misguided ones, but they're Americans nonetheless. I don't want to see their rights taken away either. I don't. I want them to be able to believe whatever the hell they want to believe, as long as they don't try to go to the Capitol and break down windows and beat police officers upside the head and destroy shit. So I think people needs to really stop and pause and say, why is this big red wave not coming? Well, it's not coming because there's no growth over there. There's no self-reflection over there. When have you ever seen anybody on that side of the aisle stop and reflect and say, hey, you know what? This guy here, he incited a riot on our nation's capital. Maybe this should be a reason for him to step out of the way and let's get a more reasonable person in there. But no, they said the game was rigged. We saw him be found liable of sexual abuse. They could have stopped and reflected and said, hey, maybe he's not the guy to lead our party, but they didn't. They just said that the lady was lying. We sat and watched him become a convicted felon. They just said the game was rigged against him. There's no growth over there. There's no self-reflection over there. And that's why the big red wave hasn't shown up, folks.